Whoever has the news broadcast on behind them should mute their microphone.
Thank you. That is on, and we're going to start the Zoom recording. Okay, when Madam Mayor is ready.
All righty. We will open the City of Bishop City Council meeting for Monday, September 14th, 2020. Our invocation this evening will be given by Pastor Eddie Davis of the Church of the Nazarene here in Bishop, and Pledge of Allegiance will be led by myself. For those of you that would like to stand, if you please would. And Pastor Davis, whenever you're ready, please.
Are we going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, Madam Mayor, or are we starting with the invocation?
Invocation, please.
Okay. Madam Mayor and esteemed council members, fellow community members, and public servants, it's an honor to be with you. And I just want to tell you all, I wish I can't get my computer to let me see all of you, but I can see some of you. And I just want to thank you for your service and what you do for our community. We pray for you regularly, not just on council meeting nights. If you join me in praying. Father God, thank you for tonight. Thank you for this group of people. Thank you that we share the title neighbor. Father, we pray for this meeting. I pray for your hand of wisdom, of insight and knowledge on each one of these decisions that need to be made. Thank you for the unique perspective that gets brought from all sides. And Lord, we ask that the truth would rise to the top and that what would benefit the whole community of this, of our town, of our valley, would be chosen. Lord, your word says that by wisdom a household is built, and by knowledge and insight it is filled with all precious and beautiful things. Lord, your word also says that righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. So we ask in Jesus' name that the decisions tonight would exalt this nation, would build up this community in love, would strengthen the ties of loving neighborly conduct. We pray for success in all the ventures that need to be taken to develop our city. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. If you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, just if you have a flag near you that you can turn to and follow after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Everybody may be seated. And we will have roll call, please. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Mahovey,
Here.
Councilmember Ellis,
Here.
Councilmember Schwartz,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Costello,
Here.
Mayor Smith.
Here.
Thank you.
We have time that we set aside for public comment at the beginning of our meetings for items that are not on this evening's agenda. And Robin, do we have any public comment that came in?
No public comments received.
Okay, thank you very much. And we will now go into our department head reports. We'll start with our Fire Chief, Joe Dell. Do we have Joe with us this evening?
Sure do. How do you hear me, Madam Mayor?
Perfect.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. A little bit tired. Just a fire department update. In the past week, we've been extremely busy. 3 structure fires with 1 critical civilian injury. 1 brush fire, 1 vehicle fire. We've assisted Simons 5 times and had multiple other less critical calls for service to respond to. One of the other things that we're not quite ready for is we've been fielding multiple phone calls every day regarding smoke, camping, and forest closures. Some of the stuff that typically goes over to the visitor center. I guess you guys are probably all curious about the statewide fires. Today we have over 16,500 firefighters working to contain 28 major fires that have burned over 3.2. Oh, I'm getting a call. That have burned over 3.2 million acres in California since August 15th. There have been, as of this morning, 24 fatalities. I think that number's up to 30, and 4,200 structures destroyed. BFD has been an integral part in that response. Our volunteers have deployed to the Slink, Whale, Sheep, Carmel fires, just to name a few. We've also covered here in Bishop and the Owens Valley, while Cal Fire and the Forest Service units are unavailable, out on committed to other fires throughout the state and region. Continue to see smoke impacts for the foreseeable future. And then the Inyo County Fire Departments are preparing to respond to Mammoth for structure protection in the unlikely event that the Creek Fire will extend that far. The topography is lined up from that fire on the other side to the San Joaquin Gulch, and they're watching it very closely. They fear that it might come up to the crest and then spot into Mammoth. And so we're preparing our units to be ready for that. That's all I have for our report tonight. Unless you have any questions, I'm gonna move off to this duty officer call, trying to figure out exactly what it is. Electric
Joe,
stove malfunction.
oh. Joe, I just have a quick question about the Creek Fire and as it's making its way towards Mammoth. Isn't the gulch that it's going into, didn't that area burn 2 years ago?
It's had several fires, but depending on the track of the fire is whether it's going to hit the fuels. They're really worried about where it's at right now. It is down with dead and bug kill, and it's got about 2,000 tons of dead and downed per acre. And so depending on its trajectory, it could make the push. However, everybody's saying it's pretty unlikely. It's just one of those.
Thanks.
Hey, any other questions or comments before Chief runs off to the electric stove issue? All right. Stay safe and have a good day off tomorrow, Joe.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, take care. Okay, we'll move on to our police chief, Mr. Ted Steck, please.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. Our new police officer started today. This is the position made possible by our school resource officer grant. His name is Neil O'Brien. He started his career with the Kingsburg Police Department as a reserve police officer. And then in 2018, he moved to a full-time position with a nearby agency, Parlier. Both agencies are in Fresno County. Neil earned his bachelor's degree in 2004 from CSU Long Beach. He speaks Spanish, and he was a school resource officer as well, which should come in handy since our program is just starting. Neil will have several weeks of training and observation. Since he's already experienced, we expect that he'll fly right through this process and be out on his own soon. And other than that staffing update, it's been fairly steady and routine at the police department. And that's all I have tonight, unless any of you have any questions.
Chief Steck, we were kind of just informally discussing, since we had Pastor Davis on earlier, about they're looking again at the overnight parking there at their parking lot. Other than, some small issues, at least I think they were small, like maybe some fights and things, would you say that the emergency overnight parking that we allowed on Main Street there for the most part was, fairly uneventful?
Yeah, Mayor, I think you categorized that right, just fairly uneventful. We had a handful of of calls for service. Nothing really significant. I guess a potential domestic violence case, and they're always significant, of course, but fairly routine, steady. I did share the numbers and the events with Larry when they occurred. He asked me to do that, and just so we would be communicating well, but nothing that we couldn't handle, and I think his staff did a fine job as well.
That's great. Hey,
Right.
anybody? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, and I guess I said his staff did a fine job, but also probation officers were out there too. All the folks who provided the monitoring during the day and night, they all did a good job.
Yeah, that's good. Good to hear. Anybody have anything else for Chief Stack right now? All righty. Thank you very much, Chief. We'll move on to our Public Works Director, Destin Deshawn.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. A few things to update you with. The Tesla project over there on Warren Street at the City of Public Works Yard is on hold starting Friday, probably till early December. I guess Tesla's having some issues keeping up with equipment. It's a worldwide problem, so they will go ahead and clean everything up, patch what they've got, and put the parking lot back into service again until they're back in December, hopefully, first part of December. Also, I just wanted to say that the city tomorrow will be putting in a second application for ATP funds. Elaine should get a lot of credit. She's worked hard on helping me with the application and doing the majority of that work, where this application will be for the rehab of the Sierra Street bike path, and as well as extending it to the south to tie into the Cebu path, which will include a bridge over Bishop Creek there. So I think it's a very worthy project. We have a lot of support for it. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope we can score high enough to get that one. It's a really competitive. You probably may have noticed that Verily, the drive-through COVID testing, has moved over to the senior center in their parking lot there off Spruce Street temporarily. They started maintenance in the parking lot at the Nazarene Church today, it looks like, and sounds like about a week, and then they'll be back over at that location. What else? And the Bishop Area Wastewater Authority, our JPA, has a special meeting next week on Tuesday to present a preliminary budget, which I think will be pretty small budget, but we need to have that done so we can bring it back to you all before the October meeting, so that we can, the council can approve what we put in there, and then we can move forward with the BAWA. And other than that, I think that's all I have, unless you have any questions of me.
I do not. Does anybody have any questions for Destin?
Destin, what time is that meeting on the 22nd?
It is our normal time, 8 o'clock, 8 a.m.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Thank you very much, Destin. We'll move on to our Community Services Manager, Mr. Dan McElroy, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
Excellent. Just to touch base on a few things in the park. As everyone knows, we had some high winds last week. We had multiple tree falls, I'm sure throughout the entire city, but it did affect two areas of the park, including Sterling Heights, and of course behind the Senior Center in Bishop Creek, which was a very substantial sized tree that fell into two other ones. So it was a 3 tree for 1 removal in the water. Had a lot of help from Public Works. Gary Millisey and the Public Works crew came and brought some large equipment so we could get that tree removed and out of the creek. Next up, that kind of put us a little behind in the park. We'll be finishing up our aeration and fertilizer this week, as well as doing all of our irrigation checks. And of course, as the temperatures drop, we are dialing all of our irrigation back for the season. If you if the council's not aware, just to make everyone aware in the public that the pool, lap swim and swim team will be ending in the next couple weeks. And we'll be wrapping the pool up for the season. And last in the park, we'll be working on the chamber roof, is getting the roof sealed. We'll do that in-house here in the next couple weeks to make sure that Tawny and all of her staff doesn't get wet this winter when it rains. So in our programming and events, we're looking after school program and our KIND program, continue to monitor the air quality. As we've had a lot of smoke in the area, it affects everything that we do. So modifying schedules there. And then also we had a staff meeting with all the staff at City Hall. And we are looking at using the auditorium, which we typically have gymnastics in, but we're looking at housing or using it for anywhere from 12 to 14 kids as the smoke gets bad or as temperatures change here in the fall. So it'll be great to utilize that facility without any outgoing costs, as our budget is, always constrained at this time. And lastly, just kind of a heads up, we're beginning to work on our Trunk or Treat program, our annual festival. And we're looking at maybe partnering with the fairgrounds and doing something like a drive-through trunk or treat. So we're in the planning phases of that. And that's about it for me, unless you guys have any questions or anything.
I just would like to comment, Dan, that it's fun to see that people are actually trying to think of alternative ways to still hold some kind of an event instead of just canceling everything, and making modifications that hopefully we will have advanced out of our, widespread stage, the purple stage by then. And, we're all hoping so. And I thank you for continuing the efforts to look at holding something.
And that goes credit to all of our staff in the community services department. They're willing to modify and change and adapt to anything that this wonderful world throws at us right now. So thank you.
Yeah, instead of just throwing the white flag up immediately, right?
Right. We're all in. We're 100% all the time.
Oh, I know. 125, I think. Anybody have anything else for Dan?
Yeah, I have a question for Dan about trees.
Yes, sir.
So this was one of the cottonwood trees, old cottonwood trees, and we know that cottonwood trees are notorious for dropping limbs and falling over in wind and everything. Was this, do we actually have a list of trees that we kind of monitor, and how was this one on the list? Do we have any other ones that we're kind of expecting to fall in the near future?
That is a great question. And yes, we do. Fortunately, as you guys know, Jeff Griffiths, ex-council member and Inyo County supervisor, is an urban forester by trade. So I used him quite a few years ago to go through, and we did a full tree assessment of the entire park, including multiple removals. Unfortunately, the ones that are on the creek, in Bishop Creek, I cannot touch without special permitting from Department of Fish and Wildlife. A lot of them are considered habitat. So those trees are for us are kind of hands off, unfortunately. But the ones that are in the park, yes, we have several that are slated for removal every year. That's why we put the $10,000 in our budget to do removal and trimming and everything else that we need to do to make them safe. So there's an actual tree safety program. Yes. So does that answer your question?
Stephen, are you there? Or are you muted still? Well, I think it.
Yeah, that answers my question. Thanks. That's
Yes.
great.
I thought so too. All right, anything else for Dan right now? All righty, thank you very much. We will move on then to our Associate Planner, Economic Development Coordinator, Elaine Kabala, please.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I just have 3 updates for you this evening. One of them we've already discussed a bit. The first is that it's my understanding that the Wounded Warrior facility that was going to go in Mammoth might be looking for a home here in Inyo County. And the city of Bishop and members from the county will be meeting with Kathy Copeland to discuss that project and if we can accommodate it somewhere in Bishop on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that. My second update is, as we discussed a moment ago, Imaka is looking to move forward with their conditional use permit for the safe parking shelter at the Nazarene Church. You may remember that that was approved by the Planning Commission in Inyo County and then appealed to the Board of Supervisors. And one of the stipulations was that Imaka needed to host a public input meeting before it could go to the board. So they are scheduling that meeting. It will take place this Wednesday, the 16th at 6 p.m. And that will be a Zoom meeting, and you can find the information to join at Imaka's website. It is open to the public. And then my final update is with regards to Silver Peaks. You might remember that we were scheduled to close escrow in October on that project. Larry Emerson of Imaka has requested one more escrow extension from DWP. Though this time it's for very good news. He has lined up his financing package to purchase the property, so it looks like that purchase will go through. And the reason for the extension was to apply for a grant that closes tomorrow that would provide some funding towards construction. So it's a good update. DWP is still on board, and it looks like that project will be moving forward. That concludes my update, unless there's questions for me.
Wow, that is really good news, Elaine. Long time coming.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Elaine? Okay, I don't hear any right now. Thank you so much. And we'll move on to our city administrator, Mr. Ron Phillips.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'd just like to compliment the department heads and the city staff for the great work that they're doing in all areas. I'm really pleased with what is being accomplished in spite of the challenges that we have this year, and appreciate their great efforts. Also, I'd like to recognize the County Department of Health and Human Services and the way they've worked with Dan McElroy's staff to plan and approve all those activities that have been going on this summer. He mentioned that we're looking at the possibility of the trunk and treat in cooperation with the fairgrounds, and Dan's staff is meeting with Health and Human Services staff to try to work out ways that can work the best. So we appreciate the way that they have been supportive and helpful in getting these activities together. I just wanted to mention that there have been no new COVID cases in Inyo County since Thursday of last week. And we're on track to move to the red tier from the purple tier as of tomorrow. They should receive official word no later than noon tomorrow from the state on that. So we're looking forward to that very much.
Yes,
I think that's all I have.
that was a lot. That was ultra good news, Mr. Phillips.
Thank you. Mayor.
Anybody have, you're welcome. Anybody have any questions or comments for our administrator? All righty, thank you so much. We'll move on to our consent calendar now. And the matters in the consent calendar are considered routine, so we act on them by one motion. Does anybody have any questions on the consent calendar? Nope. Robin, did we get any public comment on the consent calendar?
No public comments received.
Okay, thank you. Anybody care to make a motion to approve our consent calendar, please?
I'll move that we approve the consent calendar as is.
I'll
I
second
heard
it.
Ellis and Mahoney. Ellis or Mahoney, you both spoke at the same
I'm
time.
gonna restart my computer.
Okay, we'll take Mahoney
All right,
and
I'll
seconded by
second.
Costello. So Mahoney and Costello, second. All right. Councilmember Mahoney? Can you hear me? Am I unmuted?
Hey, Robin, I believe you just disconnected.
Okay.
I can hear Robin.
Stephen disconnected. Give him 1 second till we.
Yeah,
Join.
he said he was going to try to restart his computer. It was kind of sputtering, right? Probably overworked.
Madam Mayor, if there is a significant delay, since this is just a consent item, we can always have a new motion made and carry on with Councilmember Mahovy absent on this one item, if you so choose.
Okay. If that's all right with everybody else, is there somebody that would like to make a motion to approve?
So I have Councilmember Ellis making the motion.
I'll second the
And Costello?
motion. I'll second Robin.
Okay. Okay, so then Karen second.
Okay, now the vote, please.
Okay. Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Costello,
Yes.
and Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you. If you don't mind, I'd like to go back, Destin, if you're still there. I meant to ask you if you have information on what's going on, what the Department of Water and Power are doing at the old boat mart.
You know what, it was just brought to my attention and I do not know. It looks like they're storing, staging a bunch of materials over there, but I just heard about it this afternoon, so I was gonna try to find out in the morning. I may be able to find out while we're here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no rush on it. Just mostly curious. And yeah, they're bringing in a lot of materials, it looks like.
Yes, a lot.
Okay, we'll move on then to our County of Inyo update report. And I believe we all received, thank you, Jeff Griffiths, for sending us your report after you got out of the backcountry. And glad that you're home safe. And does anybody have any questions or comments for Supervisor Griffiths? Or Jeff, anything you wanted to add to your report at this time?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to submit the report. And I apologize for it just showing up today, but I have needed a mental health break out in the wilderness. A lot of your department heads stole my thunder on stuff that I was going to comment on or stuff that was in the report. So I won't elaborate too much. I will elaborate on what Mr. Phillips said about tomorrow being the day that we go from the tiers. And I did include, hopefully you got it, a handy chart of what the different colored tiers mean.
Right.
So according to our math, we should be going from the purple tier to the red tier starting tomorrow. But I would put in a big note of caution with that, is that the state has to do the math and staying in that zone requires our numbers being in a positive direction like they have been for a while. And that, you know, requires all of us working together to try to do what we can. I will also say that being in the red zone means that if we are in the red zone for 2 consecutive weeks, then schools can reopen for in-person instruction, you know, which I think has been something that's been, you know, really important for our youth. And I'm hopeful that the schools have some good plans in place and how to do that. And I trust that they have plans in place in order to do that safely. So that's all looking like it's going in a positive direction. The Revive Business Grant program that we put $800,000 into, the applications are available online, and those are due this Friday. So encourage the local businesses who have seen impacts to apply for those. And then also at our budget process last week, we put in an additional $100,000 for nonprofit organizations that have been suffering during this time too. And so look in the next little while for that grant application to come out. And then I have been in close contact with the Forest Service regarding the closures, and they are slated to be lifted at midnight tonight. But my understanding is that they expect it to be extended for at least another week. And actually had a conversation with the forest supervisor, and he said that even if Randy Moore, who I believe is hanging out with Donald Trump right now, looking at fires, but even if he doesn't extend it, the local forest supervisor would be looking to extend it for at least another week. The worry is that we still have these incredibly high fire risk conditions, and that resources are spread so thin all around the state that there's really not the ability to respond. So understanding that it is in a way it's a hit to our economy and hit to people's ability to get out into the forest. The forest isn't so great to be out on right now anyways because of all the smoke. And we continue to monitor that, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff, I actually have a question for you. I hope this connection is better.
I can hear you.
All right, good. So you mentioned that according to your calculations, we should be moving into the red. Is that because our positivity rate is still fairly high? Because if we're just looking from the state level, there are 2 metrics, right? There's the new cases and then the positive tests. And under positive tests, we should actually be going to orange.
So the way that the state set up the tiered system is you can only move 1 tier at a time, and you have to spend a certain amount of time in that tier before you can move to the next tier.
That's quite annoying.
It is annoying. And what their reasoning behind that was they're trying not to have wild swings of things opening and closing, opening and closing. However,
I would recommend if they don't want to have wild swings, they shouldn't apply a one-size-fits-all policy to sparsely populated counties.
I totally agree. And in that vein, I was selected along with 3 other county supervisors across the state to be in a very small working group with Dr. Ghali, who's the head of California Department of Public Health, to discuss exactly what you're talking about: small, isolated, sparsely populated counties, and the impacts that blanket regulations have that don't necessarily make sense for our area. I think it's a delicate conversation, but there, especially when you look at a county like Inyo County, which is 10,000 square miles, there's folks who live in parts that have had 0 cases from the very beginning, and how do we develop a system that recognizes those realities of our small areas, and when statistically one case can make a difference between one tier or another tier, or one outbreak in a particular area, which was partly our case. And so I will be huddling with my public health staff and folks in order to find a really good message that we can send with actionable items, like what you just brought up of how we can be safe as a community, but also how we can recognize the sparsely populated nature that we have and the realities of COVID.
Yeah, if you want to send me anything to comment on, I'd be happy to read over whatever you guys are writing.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm going to have a Zoom meeting with Dr. Gali on Thursday, so we'll figure it out.
Okay, Stephen, anything else?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, anybody, anything else?
Chair.
All righty. Oh, go ahead.
I heard a rumor, just want to see if you've heard anything on it, that Forest Service was going to be expanding their law enforcement officers here in this area significantly.
Yeah, so again, rumors, I don't have anything official on that, but there has, because of the closure and the, enforcement challenges that all of that brings out, that the Inyo National Forest has requested additional law enforcement presence. My understanding is that is challenging, if not unlikely, given that there are law enforcement needs related to evacuations and, getting people out of certain areas, protecting property of areas where people already have evacuated. That I know that the forest has requested it gesundheit. Yeah, that's what I hear. I heard that the Forest Service requested it. It's not a done deal that they will have it.
I will say this though. I actually got into, I went camping all last week in the backcountry, and I got into the backcountry before the closures happened. And when I got out, it was pretty clear somebody had been monitoring the trailhead parking lots every day. And since I was already in the backcountry, I just got a note saying leave with an actual date, but other people were actually getting ticketed if their cars were in the parking lots and they didn't have the note from the previous day. So there is some level of enforcement that's already happening.
Yeah, and I think the hope is that the closure isn't going to last forever.
Yeah, it's
they
already extended it through the 19th, by the way.
Okay, so breaking news. And there's concerns that we have about what the closure of the forest means to the BLM land and to the LADWP land, because as we've seen all summer, these folks are going to come visit, whether they know anything about camping or not. They're going to come, and they do really stupid things. I was trying to find a nice way to say that, but they do really stupid things.
Kind of the nature of human beings, right?
Yeah. I get it. I wouldn't want to be stuck in Los Angeles right now either.
Yeah. Hey, nice stash. Yeah. You're gonna compete.
I like to say it's more firefighter than cop.
It looks firefighter. Yeah. Cop could only be in November. All right. Anybody, anything else for our supervisor?
No public comments made or received.
Thank you. All righty, we'll move on to item 9 on our agenda is our new business, and item A is a resolution approving an application for funding the execution of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from the 2020 Community Development Block Grant Program Coronavirus Response Round 1. And this is going to be handled by Elaine, yes?
Yes. Good.
And I'm sorry. Thank you, Jeff. In case I forgot to tell you, thank you very much. Okay, Elaine.
Good evening again, Madam Mayor and Council. At the last council meeting, we held a public hearing regarding the CDBG CV1 application, which is due September 21st. This funding has been made available through the CARES Act and is being administered by the Department of Housing and Community Development. It's not a competitive grant, it's an allocation to the City of Bishop in the amount of approximately $70,000. The City of Bishop was contacted by Inyo County to see if we would want to submit a joint application to save on the administrative burden for a joint project. So that joint project is purchasing a climate controlled storage unit for PPE storage and medical supply storage. As part of that application, we're also including outfitting the fire trucks and a new ambulance with the medical equipment and PPE that they need to be safe and to keep their clients safe. That left us with, after putting together that budget, that left us with approximately $100,000 between those two combined funding sources. At the council meeting where we held a public hearing at the last meeting, there were 2 applications that were discussed submitting in addition. We are allowed to submit up to 3 applications. One was to backfill 2 grants that community services did not receive through Inyo County's First 5 program, which would have provided funding for our after-school programs to be able to expand and adjust accordingly to COVID-19. There's a lot of programmatic changes that they've had to make, a lot of materials changes, and finding new facilities. So that seemed like one fit for this. And then there was a request from Councilman Mahovey to put the balance of that into rental assistance. Since then, I put together the budget in collaboration with the Community Services Department for the after-school programming, including increasing staff to accommodate larger class loads or more students. And then because it's a CDBG application through Housing and Community Development, we have to meet what's known as a national objective. And so in this instance, it's direct benefits to low-income families. And so in conversations with the grant administrator that we're working with, she recommended that we would have to include something like tuition vouchers to be able to demonstrate that direct connection to low-income families. So once we had accounted for the budget for materials and snacks and supplies and so on and so forth, plus these tuition vouchers, which added up very quickly, that budget ended up being approximately $100,000, which didn't leave anything whatsoever to allocate towards rental assistance. So those are the 2 applications that are presented before your council this evening in the resolution. That concludes my presentation of this item, unless there are questions for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Elaine. Anybody have any questions or comments for Elaine?
Yeah, I have a question, Elaine. So what is the definition of the low-income family, and how much of those funds of the 100,000 are going through these to the tuition deferrals for low-income families?
You know, I don't have the budget in front of me, Councilman Mahovey, so I apologize. I can't put very good numbers on there. And also the definition of low income housing is actually kind of tricky to figure out. I'm still working because CDBG operates with a different definition than other programs does. Generally, what I can tell you about that is that you have to be, I think it's like 49% of the median household income as defined by HUD, and 41% of Inyo County qualifies for that. I'm still working with to get a actual hard number to what any of that means. So I apologize, I don't have better information. With regards to the budget, there were two different programs that were considered. One is the KIND program, which is a limited program that's mostly outdoors, and the other one was the larger after-school programs that we work in. The KIND program would have allowed for 1 day of tuition for 14 students, I believe. And the other one would have allowed for 5 days, 50% tuition voucher for 13 students. And the cost for each of those programs are $14 and $16.50 respectively.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I just want to, I guess my question is, are you confident that the applications that we're putting in were actually reaching and benefiting the most needy people in the people who have been most affected by COVID in our area?
I think that it has been extremely difficult to figure out how to make this amount of funding go to all the need in the community. And I gratefully accept guidance from council.
Yeah, understandable. Okay, anybody, anything else on this item for Elaine?
Yeah, thank you, Elaine. I think, reaching working families and having a safe place for those kids to be while they're distance learning, or even, I know if we do end up going back to school, it's going to be most likely a half day. And so having a place for those kids to go where they're not home by themselves will be huge. And I don't know if we have any say in who those people are, but one thing maybe we could look at is if they qualify for free and reduced lunch, then maybe they would qualify for this program. Something like makes it super easy. We don't have to look at, the HUD metrics, but just, pretty basic free and reduced lunch would qualify you for a tuition voucher. But I think it's a great thing. I know some of my educator friends have lamented that some of their students are at home by themselves, just wanting to chat with the teacher because having something for these kids to go to that's enriching is great for them. And I think just a great benefit to society in general as they become adults and they have this enriching thing that they had as youth in their lives. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the feedback. And also I think it's an excellent idea to use the free and reduced lunches, and I'll work on getting those numbers from the school. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to add one thing I thought while you were speaking in response to Councilman Mahovey, which is that there is going to be a second round of the CDBG CARES Act funding that will come out. And I've been going to webinars on this pretty much weekly. My understanding is that second program will have a focus on housing. So
good. Because yeah, I mean, this is a very worthwhile program, and I think it does help the working parents tremendously. I'm just concerned about the parents who unfortunately lost their jobs because of COVID, and they still have to pay rent and have a stable place to live. And so that was, I think, my main reservation with this. But with you telling me that there's potentially another grant coming up, I would I would really strongly advocate that a lot of this other grant, we put it directly back in the community, especially for those that have suffered the most financially with this pandemic.
Duly noted. Thank you.
Okay, anybody, anything else on this item? Okay, if anybody would like to, we're looking for a motion to accept the proposed resolution by title only.
I'll make that motion to accept this resolution by title only.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you. And was there any public comment, Robin?
No public comments received.
Okay, thank you. And the vote then, please?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Bishop, State of California, approving an application for funding and the execution of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from the 2020 Community Development Block Grant Program, Coronavirus Response Round 1, CDBG CV1, NOFA dated June 5, 2020. Councilmember Mahovey,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Costello,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item B, which is award the Spruce, Hanby, and Yaney Sidewalks Construction Project. So I believe we're back to our Public Works Director, Destin Deshawn, please.
Yes, we are. Good evening again. So, and I think, Robin, you have that map that I gave you to show. Actually, yeah, just this project's been going on for a long time. So I just want to kind of refresh everybody's memory on where exactly the limits of the construction will be. I'll go ahead and start. So the City of Bishop applied for and was awarded funds from the Active Transportation Program, or the ATP, in 2015 to design and build the Spruce, Hanby, and Yaney Streets project. The project will build curbs, sidewalks, striped Class 2 bike lane, and landscaping along Hanby and Spruce Streets between the neighborhoods of Southeast Bishop and the City Park. The project also completes sidewalk from Sunrise Mobile Home to the Bishop Senior Center. And that may sound a little bit confusing, but what we're talking about is there's already sidewalks on McIver and Spruce north of Yaney. So this will complete everything south of Yaney Street and make continual sidewalk for this seniors. The project was advertised for bid on July 28th, 2020, and bids were due on September 1st. This project was funded completely with state funding, so local contracting preferences do not apply. As you can see, the city received 4 bids for the construction project. The low bidder was VNC Construction out of Minden, Nevada at $985,343.25. It's nice in our world. It also feels really good to look at bids that are, the first and second bid were less than 1% difference on nearly $1 million. So it reassures you that you're getting a good bid. The schedule is proposed to be award a contract tonight, start construction in actually late September or early October, and complete construction in early January. The project will be funded primarily with ATP funds, which are $943,000. The remaining approximately $300,000 will be funded with a remaining balance on a community development block grant. The ATP funds are paid as reimbursement, and the CDBG funds are currently in city coffers. The city also has approximately $70,000 in state gas tax funds that have been approved to be used to supplement this project if need be. And just a little bit of background on that CDBG funding. So the city has carried a balance for quite a while of $307,000 that was left from a CDBG program for first-time buying assistance, homeowners purchasing, probably 10 years ago. And I know, I'm sure for at least 3, the money has just sat there. CDBG will not reimburse us or give us any additional funding for other programs such as the CARES Act or any of that until that balance is spent down on a project that meets their criteria. Elaine and I had a Zoom meeting with Roxanne Hunert of CDBG and told her about the project. Told that has to definitely influence a disadvantaged community, and close to that neighborhood, the southeast part of Bishop definitely qualifies. And so I just simply asked her the question: if this was your project, would you go ahead and start a project knowing that we need to wait? We need to get you to approve our funding. She said, absolutely. Not even no. She didn't hesitate one bit. So. So the recommendation tonight from Public Works is award the Spruce, Hanby, and Yaney Street sidewalks contract to VNC Construction Incorporated in the amount of $985,343.25. Authorize the execution of the construction contract with VNC, and authorize the expenditure in a not to exceed amount of $1,280,946.23. including 20% contingency and a 10% construction support for the construction contract.
Hey,
Okay,
Destin.
Yes.
So on that map that you gave us, the red that goes through the park, is that sidewalk or is that dirt currently?
No, so I apologize. I should have said that. That's the concrete path that we built with the Pine to Park path.
Okay.
So what that will be doing is tying in, we're going to, that little yellow leg will complete that entire loop, kind of a square as you can follow it up Hanby, down Spruce and around for a walking path. That was something that the public definitely asked for with this project. It's in concrete. And so that existing blank area that's not highlighted on Spruce Street there, that's already concrete also with the Pine to Park path. That's right there near the restrooms. Then,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, fill everyone in on the trees and the bridge and
Yeah.
the stuff you were telling us about this morning.
Okay. So yeah. So originally the project was a lot larger than this. It included the entire length of the extent of Hanby to the north, and then the East Yaney. Well, the project only had $943,000. It also included a 60-foot wide bridge at the crossing in the park at Bishop Creek. The crossing alone would have nearly used up the entire budget. So these ATP funds are so competitive, and we have a very worthy project even without those other things that we wanted to move forward. We're going to plant 63 new trees. We're going to only be removing 12. But while we're building it, we need to get all the irrigation in and the infrastructure trees as well. Green belt on Hanby Street with a 5-foot sidewalk, and then a 6-foot wide pedestrian bridge that will be almost identical to the other bridges in the park right now. That will create the handicap access on Spruce Street. And then also handicap ramps on either side to get the seniors that are going to the senior center, or anybody that's handicapped, across the street there and over to the senior center.
Nice.
So the way I see it, this project is a major win for the residents, especially in the east side of town, because it gives them a clear bike path to say go to grocery shopping, because you can go through there. It gives you a walkable, safe walking route between the Sunrise Mobile Home Park and the Senior Center. And it's all state funding that we have to use so it's not actually dipping into our general budget. So, I mean, it seems like a great use of resources to me.
Yeah, and I'll add that these prices are probably as low as we'll ever see them. I was holding my breath when we opened the bids, especially when I opened a $1.3 million bid. I went, oh no, it's been 5 years in the works to get here. And yes, you're right. And when we built the Pine to Park path, the residents of Sterling Heights often asked us, when will we complete the sidewalk on Spruce so they can go from there to the Vaughn's Kmart area or something on a paved path, or, you know, an ADA compliant path for them. So you're right, it's a big win for that whole side of Bishop.
Yes, it is.
And Destin, I want to say thank you. I know I've sat down with you many a time talking about this project, and you did a great job taking a project and whittling it down to the most essential and biggest value for the buck we could get with what we had available funding. So great job. I think you're truly going to enhance people's lives and the beauty of our city. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Anybody, anything else? Okay. Anybody ready to make oh, I'm sorry, any public comment, Robin?
No public comments were made.
But we know that they're happy about it. Okay, anybody ready to make a motion on this item? Please.
Sure, I'll do it. I will make a motion that we award the Spruce Hanby and Yanu Sidewalks construction contract to VNC Construction, Inc. in the amount of $985,343.25, that we authorize the execution of construction contract with VNC Construction, Inc., and that we authorize the expenditure in a not to exceed amount of $1,280,946.23, including 23 cents, including 20% contingency, 10% construction support for the construction contract.
And I will second that.
Right. Good job, Stephen. You don't usually write checks that big, do you?
Nope.
Okay. May we have the vote, please?
Okay, Councilmember Mahovey,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Costello,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Thank you, council.
Going to be fun. Okay, item C, guidelines for fiscal year 2020, 2021, grant in support of funding. And do we have our finance director or assistant finance director with us?
Yes, we do. Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. For fiscal year 2021 budget, the City of Bishop allocated $47,000 for community support. Historically, the City Council rewards this in grant and support. This year, we propose to award 9 to 10 grants, totaling no more than $5,000 each, to community-based nonprofit organizations. And I attached the grant and support information packet, which includes a fact sheet, grant requirements, grant submittal checklist, project proposal narrative, sample project line item budget, and a sample final report. The information packet will provide a clear communication to the community what is required to receive a grant and support, and transparency in reporting how the awarded funding was used. Does anybody have any questions?
Anybody have anything?
So I have a couple of comments,
Okay.
because you know I always have a couple of comments, I guess. So first of all, Jenny, I want to commend you on this grant application because it really demonstrates your background in grant management, and so I appreciate the rigor with which you're doing everything here. So kudos for that. One of the concerns that I have. So there are two concerns, actually. One is that historically, the nonprofits who have benefited from this grant, the majority of them have actually requested more than 5K in the past. So I don't know if we want to necessarily maintain that strict limit with regards to that. But the other thing that I wanted to make clear is that in the past, we've kind of used, I think this is a great grant program for our nonprofits that operate within the city that do a lot of community service, who have a lot of community service oriented missions. But I think we need a separate program to fund the kind of larger entities that contribute to our tax base via marketing to get the tourists and fill the hotels and all of those things. In particular, I'm thinking about the fairgrounds, who has large events that bring in a lot of tourism dollars, and as well with the visitors center, who effectively does all of the marketing to bring our tourism-based economy. And as this grant is written, those two entities in particular are not eligible to apply. And so I think but I do think we still want to keep supporting those entities in as much as we can. So I was going to advocate that maybe we open this up for the nonprofits, and then we do a kind of a mini budget workshop meeting on whatever applications have come in, and then discuss a way to kind of form a more substantial contract with the fairgrounds and the Visitors Bureau for the services that they do. I mean, we heard earlier today, Joe Dell, Chief Joe Dell, talking about how they've been fielding a lot of calls that normally go to the Visitors Center. And so it seems pretty clear, like the Visitors Center actually, even though officially it's not an arm of the city, they are a good partner, and I think we would want to keep supporting them. And so I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think that I agree with you, Stephen, in that on one hand, you could say, I think it's wonderful that we're allocating anything actually right now to support our community, which is wonderful. We've asked our employees to take furlough time right now, which is, in the process of happening. And so, you can't really think about, oh, we want to support you, but we're asking our employees to take a cut so that we can support you. On the other hand, I hear what you're saying, that especially the two entities that you talked about are actually, helping with our revenues. And especially once we start climbing out of, the COVID stage, get to better stages, and we can start having events again, and having more advertising to, outside of our area, it's very, very important for the livelihood of the city. And so I agree. I feel like those are worthy things to support. And I would like to see, I know that we need to limit the amount that we can, but I don't really like to be, maybe one or two would receive 10,000 or would receive 7 or 8, and somebody else, I mean, they can definitely get less, because some of them have asked for less in the past routinely, but the 5,000 kind of boxes us in with that limit.
May I add something? When we put together the budget, we were putting this together with a worst case scenario. So it's something that we can, adjust later on in mid-year. And we can also maybe add another budget line later on in the year, looking at other programs. It's just going to be a very fluid year, and we don't know what the bottom line is going to be.
Yeah, totally understood.
Yeah,
You talked about, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to echo Stephen's sentiments there. I know that, and Laura touched on it too, that this is a small number compared to what we do, and the return on our investment in visitor center and fairgrounds, to not put that money out, I think we're almost shooting ourselves in the foot. And Jennifer, yeah, I agree that we can reevaluate budget. I don't think the TOT numbers are quite as dire as we anticipated. Sales tax numbers are the same. So I think we might need to, even before we either agree to this or not, that might need to be a component we need to take into account, that we see if our numbers are correct and if we can allocate more to the things that we need to help grow. But I understand Laura's point that we're asking our employees to do one thing, but to get out of that hole that we're in and we're putting our employees by cutting funding to the things that actually help change
Right.
that course, you're digging in two holes now. So
Yeah. Yep.
Well, when we had discussed, at least I had discussed with Ashley, I don't know if we discussed it publicly, about how the community promotions budget no longer really fit into the category of what we give the chamber and the visitor center. Like it seemed more like like we should have a different line item for them versus the community promotion should be, you know, for smaller nonprofits, and then maybe another line item goes towards you know, the chamber and the visitor center. And I do agree that we need to have a budget workshop. I think that we need to have like a, you know, a real conversation on the fact that we have 2 visitor centers in our community. You know, the Forest Service serves as one, and we have the Visit Bishop Visitor Center. And so we, you know, I know that there was conversations recently about sharing resources there. And I think this is a really good time to start thinking outside of the box and pooling resources. I know the Forest Service has approached us about it. And I know Robin was part of those conversations. But I really would like to see, you know, instead of duplicating resources, why don't we start having these more creative conversations to see if our dollars can go further with one visitor center. And I also think that, you know, I have questions that the money that we give to the visitor center is increasing every year, and it seems to be getting larger and larger. And so at what point do we stop from the TUT money, not from our general fund money? Is there a point where, you know, we just need to have a conversation? Do we continue to give money out of our general fund, or do we stop, or where does that money go? But I think we need to have like a hard conversation on what's the goal of the money coming from the city to the visitor center, or does it just keep going up and up and up? Like, I just want to know where our goals are and have that conversation of, do we keep giving money out of the general fund even as the TUT numbers start to increase, or is there a point where we cap it? I just think we need to have a workshop on what our goal is in the future with this money being given to the visitor center and the fairgrounds.
Yeah, I agree, Karen.
I definitely hear that. But one of the things that I would point out is that the TUT money.
Are you talking BTID money?
Yeah, BTID money.
Yeah, the BTID money. The BTID money has, from my understanding of it, from looking at the documents with regards to it, has a lot of strings attached to it. And to the point that I think only 5% of it can actually be used in operations. And so we can't, I don't know that it would be interesting when we're getting that when we're having the discussion about the budget there, and having the discussion that you're suggesting, to actually get the information on what those funds can and cannot be used for. And just to be clear, that isn't city money, right? We're just the conduit for the businesses themselves decided to assess this fee on themselves, and we're effectively just being the conduit of it, right? And I don't know, there are a lot of strings attached to it, so it's not as simple as they're getting a lot through the BTID, and so they don't need any sort of extra support.
No, and I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that the conversation needs to be had because it seems, you know, every year we are lowering the amount and then, from our general fund dollars and the, and Tawny, it keeps saying, but this isn't enough. And I don't think we've had this conversation of like, well, what's our goal? Like, at some point I'm like, well, what do we want this money to be spent for? And how is the money that the city's spending, going to the businesses that we want it to support or going to the things we want it to support? To me, it just seems like we haven't had that really like hard conversation of like, what are our values with this money and where is it being spent? And I think it's time.
I completely agree. And I think that's one of the reasons why having a separate actual contract where we define, here are the clear expectations that we want from this, here are the deliverables that we expect, that goes a long way to assuaging all of those concerns, and still make sure that we get the return for what we need.
Yeah. And I think the conversation that we have to visitor centers needs to be addressed. And maybe it's not a feasible solution, but to me it seems very like duplicate resources that to me seem unnecessary, but I don't have all the information as to why that could or could not work. So.
Karen, I like that idea because I think it is, times change and Bishop changes. Our visitor base has changed since the inception of this idea years ago. There is a climbing market that needs to be, if we can look at that through Forest Service, or I think you bring up a valid point there that we do need to look at a future budget hearing or budget item. So good point.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we definitely need to gather the facts, like both of you are saying, and we need to have those figures in front of us before we meet together and discuss it, because it is much less restrictive than 5%. I've looked at it extensively because this is something we've tossed around quite often. And I just want to say it again quickly that when we were looking at the city council was looking a number of years ago, right before the BTID went into operation, we were looking at a percentage increase on our sales tax, such as we are right now. And we opted to throw in our support for the BTID in lieu of pursuing that at the time. And the reason why part of what we wanted to use that money for was community promotions. And the idea of throwing in our support for the BTID was so that we could do what we're doing now by decreasing, the large amount of money that was going to community promotion. But yeah, we definitely need to have our facts together before we get together and meet on that.
And I think, what the chamber and the visitor bureaus do is like this, like they're like these unsung heroes of Bishop and bringing, it's like tireless work, and they're anything that comes their way, they embrace. And I wouldn't want to just say like, oh, you get enough money from, the conversation doesn't need to be like, you get enough money from the TBID, so you're good. It's just more of a conversation of, well, let's be really realistic about what our general fund dollars are going towards. So,
yeah, I just wanted to weigh in, and I agree with Laura. I agree with all of you that during this time, the fact that we're giving any grants with the uncertainty is a big deal, and I feel fine with waiting for the other two organizations that we were talking about, just to see where we're at, and maybe get our employees back on a full 40-hour week before we start giving away more money. But we talked this morning in the department head meeting about trying to set up a meeting with Tawny and whoever else from her organization and get some hard numbers and some budget numbers from them so we can see where that money's going. And Karen, like you were saying, so we have a goal and where we're headed and where they're going, because we just don't want them to keep growing and getting bigger and bigger, at the expense of the city, if it's not necessary. But then I'm not close to one visitor center, but if you've ever been in the Forest Service Center, it's all about permits, bear canisters, maps, what's open and what's not open. And I've never seen it have anything to do with Bishop proper, but it's all about, people going in the mountains. So I'm not sure how that would work out.
Yeah, well, it is for tourism though. It definitely, and they're located at the fairgrounds now. They're not, located at the Forest Service. We're talking about ESIA and the Eastern Sierra Interagency.
Interpretive Association.
Interpretive Association. There you go. Yeah. And it affects all of us. It's definitely tourism for sure.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, with regards to the item that is presented to us, I mean, I think we're in agreement that we'll have a budget workshop where we discuss the separate entity of the visitor center and the fairgrounds. But I guess one of the questions is do we want to remove the limit on this application as it is and still release it to the public and let the nonprofits apply, and then we get together and have that meeting and discuss how we're going to award it?
I'm kind of okay right now with, not looking at the fairgrounds and the chamber and the visitors bureau, visitor center, looking at them separate and looking at this now. I'd like to, not have the constraint of limiting it to 5,000, but definitely keeping the limit on the allocation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with the allocation part, but the limit part, I mean, we gave Laws, $11,000 last year?
15.
Was it that high?
I think so.
So we're cutting people out right there just from, this is $5,000. So do we take that out and leave it wide open so we can still adjust our numbers, or do we leave it and 5,000 is the best we're working with?
I would advocate we remove it, and then they can apply for it, and then as we see how the budget shakes out over time, we can always change the how much we grant the nonprofits.
What is the total we're allocating on this one?
47,000.
47.
I put it together just trying to get,
Mm-hmm.
spread it out as much as we could.
Yeah, I'm fine with not putting a $5,000 limit, and then just like we did last time, kind of grade, who we think should get what based on what they're asking for and what their program is, and then just divvy it up, as fairly as we can.
Jennifer, do you have any comments on what why you put the 5,000 on there, or what you think makes sense?
I was just trying to spread the money out. Okay. And I thought 9 to 10. I mean, I know 5,000 isn't that much, but at least it was better than nothing.
Sure.
Madam Mayor.
I'm fine then with removing the dollar amount.
Yes, sir.
I just would like to mention that the city has a lot of needs that are not being met here. Not just the furlough of staff, but we're not making any capital expenditures unless they come from grants. We've reduced our reserves by half to try to make this budget year work. Right. And I think one of the most important things we need to address is to get our reserves back where they belong before we fund a lot of other people. So I just want to give that perspective that I don't know that we have the ability financially to spread out a lot of money. I think that Jenny's done a great job in putting this together, and we don't have to keep the 5,000 limit, but I don't know that we can do 15 or whatever.
No, probably not, Mr. Phillips. I think all of us are in agreement from what I've heard to keep the the total allocated amount at 47,000, but allow some leeway on the 5,000 limit. And so that won't be on Jenny, that'll be on us, right? But yeah, absolutely right. I agree with you on that. And as far as the chamber and visitors bureaus and the fairgrounds is something on down the road as we evaluate what position we're in financially, right?
Yeah, but in the past, to address Ron's point, yeah, Ron, we are cutting our employees. We are moving stuff out of capital improvements and putting stuff on pause. But this money that we do give, it does benefit the community. It does benefit the city. On each one of these, every time we give this money out, there is a return on it that is equal to what we give out, if not better. So that is I understand the budget part, but at the same time, these businesses and nonprofits and entities rely on this support to keep going and do the great job that they do. So it is a incredibly fine line.
Right. And a lot of these are actually services to our community also.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe it sounds like we're all in agreement on the total allocated amount of $47,000. And again, Jenny, the application process looks great. And thank you so much for putting that together. So Mr. Pucci.
I guess we're opening it up for people to apply, and then we'll have a workshop to discuss how we allocate. And I guess, yeah, I just want to be clear, are we also having the fair and the Visitors Bureau applying through this? Because as it's written, they don't qualify.
Do you want me to go over the timeline for the proposals?
Sure.
So I was just having them released on the 15th and then have them due on Thursday. And then we would review them and notify everybody on November 30th.
Oh.
Okay, then it does sound to me like maybe we better include the other agencies, right?
You wouldn't want to just add a separate line item to the budget for that, and we can create something different for them.
Okay, I'm good with that also.
Yeah, I think that would be the most prudent way to go, because I think it's the services they provide are different than the services that these nonprofits provide, and it just seems so horrible when we're like, okay, let's allocate this for marketing for the town over seniors' meals. Those just don't seem to be like even in the same ballpark, like ball field. So yeah, I think it might be best to just split it up. And then actually, given that the timeline that Jenny has us making decisions by the end of November, we'll definitely have a much better idea of our finances at that point, right?
Yes, we should.
Hope so.
The audit should be complete and everything should be done.
That'd be great.
Have we, Mr. Pucci, have we kind of juggled things so much that this is out of reach in making this motion?
I'm not even sure what motion you're talking about anymore, Madam Mayor.
We see where it goes.
I'm kidding. You know me. I'm not going to stand in the way. If this is an actual substantive change, to the program as Jenny has developed it, then it probably needs to be direction to council or from council to staff to modify it and to bring it back to them. What I'm not really tracking is that, and maybe somebody can, Jenny and Ron can feed this back to me. If this is just something that can be directed to staff to implement as part of the enaction of it, then that's fine. I'm struggling here to figure out between the various comments and requests as to what is substantive. And I can't even answer the question until staff tells me. I'm not a finance guy, obviously. So staff tells me, we can do this immediately, or we need to reconsider this and we need to bring this back to council either on a regularly noticed meeting or on a special meeting.
Actually, to that point, where we're talking about the $5,000 limit, that's not actually included in the application package. So there's actually no modifications that need to be done to the application packet itself. So I think I would be comfortable just releasing this as it is. And then we schedule a budget workshop once everything's in, and then we'll have a better idea of what the city's finances are. We'll have a better idea of what we want to do with regards to the fairgrounds and the chamber. So I think for tonight, we're not actually talking about making any changes to the item that's proposed.
Yeah.
That motion.
So, and I hear that. I'm looking at the agenda item. It says council consideration to approve the proposed 2021 grant and support guidelines and information packet. It really doesn't make a difference. If there's something that needs to be changed in the information packet or the guidelines, then staff can direct, or council can direct staff to make those. And so I'm going to roll with Councilmember Mahovey's interpretation of this. And so just to keep this meeting moving along, if there's something we need to deal with on a staff level or bring it back to council, I would propose this, the council make if a motion is contemplated, then a motion would be to approve the proposed grant and support funding guidelines and information packet with modifications as directed by council. And if there's questions, we can deal with that on a staff level.
Perfect.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the grant and support information packet.
Robin, thank you, Stephen. Have we had any public comment on this?
Yes, we have. So I wanted to, it's from Julie Faber. The district management plan allocates 80% of BTID funds for sales and marketing, 10% for visitor services enhancements, 10% for administration, and 5% for contingency renewal. The Bishop Visitor Center needs the support from the City of Bishop to remain open. This is a vital and capped service, not only for our guests, but also for our residents, as we are consistently the information center for Bishop, not only the visitor information center. Thanks, Julie Faber.
Okay, thank you, Julie. We'll be looking at that item in the future as we discussed. Was that it, Robin?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we had a motion. Anybody second?
Second. Karen can have it.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Mahovey, a second by Councilmember Schwartz. I call the vote.
Okay, the vote, please. Thank you.
Councilmember Mahovey,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Costello,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. And item D is City of Bishop audited financial statements for fiscal year 2018, 2019. Sounds like that's back to you, Jenny.
Yes, it is. So as required by government code, each year, the city of Bishop undergoes an independent audit of the city's basic financial statements to ensure the financial statements are in conformity with the generally accepted accounting principles, including the standards set forth by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, GASB. Larry Bain, CPA, performed the independent audit and provided his opinion that the city's financial statements fairly represented the city's financial position as of June 30th, 2019. And the financial statements confirm with generally accepted accounting principles. Additionally, internal control over financing reporting was considered in performing the audit. The audit was difficult to complete this year for this, fiscal year due to a change in financial management software and management staff turnover. So this has already been presented once. Stephen had some additional questions and we went over it, and I think he may have more.
Gee, what a shocker. Stephen, is that true?
It is. I only have two questions, and one of them is for you, Laura.
Oh.
So I read on page 38 that, what is it, as part of the general information on the OPEB plan, council members leaving the city after 2 full terms or 7 and 1.5 years, whichever is less, who have reached the age of 62 years of age will be eligible for benefits during his or her lifetime. I was under the impression you guys had changed that in the past.
We did, except for those who were grandfathered in. And so it no longer exists for those of us. It would have been myself and David Stottlemyre, who it ended up where Mr. Stottlemyre ended up leaving and taking employment with the county. And so he, he didn't continue with that, but that was something that was given to us, for
Right.
quite a while ago. One of the reasons why I felt comfortable leaving my full-time position and giving up that potential benefit with my employment, because I knew it would be there for the city as I committed myself wholeheartedly.
No. And I mean, my only question is that it seems like in the audit, it wasn't made clear that that particular benefit ends. There was no end date on it, and so I wanted to make sure that if something was missed by Larry Bain, like a resolution that ended that we definitely get that information to him, or if we never actually did a resolution to end that once of course your grandmother did, that we make sure that we do that at a future meeting.
Laura, didn't that go into MOU?
I don't remember what it went into. I know that we acted on this, but we would have to go back in. And I remember Jana, and when Ashley was there, looking into this very thing. Actually, I asked them to before I considered, anyway. And so it's there. We would just probably have to find it again.
We discussed something when I was on the council about it. But I think we just changed it. Like, I don't think we got rid of it. Like, we just made the requirements more stringent. Is what I remember.
Well, my memory is that we got rid of it.
No, I don't think we got rid of it, because I feel like I remember we just made it more stringent.
Could be. We'll have to find it. Could be.
May I ask a question? Was that for staff and for city council members? Or was
No, it was just for city council. We just made it harder to qualify, but we did not eliminate it. At least that's my memory. And it was during my first term. I think Pat brought it up. I'm pretty sure we made it more stringent, but we did not eliminate it.
Okay, because Jana and I discussed this, and as far as we could find, we couldn't find where any change had been made.
Oh.
So unless, but there might be like a resolution or something that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, I feel like we definitely discussed this when I was on council, and we made it. Yeah, we did not eliminate it. I remember that.
Yeah. So Jenny, will we be able to, you think we'll be able to find something, whatever was done on it?
We'll look it up and try and find it. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the only other question that I had was on one of the findings at the end when we did the large payment to our unfunded liability. We took the majority of it out of the general fund and then a small fraction out of water and sewer. And the auditor found that this was inconsistent with how we had historically allocated the pension liability, which was 52% from the general fund and then 24% water and sewer. And I was wondering if there was anything we could do to kind of rectify that, given that our general fund balance definitely took a large hit from that.
Well, I'm sorry, I had asked the auditor about 1920. I didn't ask about 1819. So if we can follow this allocation for 1920, I would have to double check with him about 1819.
Oh, okay.
I apologize, that was my misunderstanding.
Oh, no worries. Because if we could reallocate that payment, then our general fund is in a much stronger shape, and it's actually more consistent with how historically we have paid the liabilities. So, get something to get back.
Okay, sorry.
But it doesn't detract anything from the audit. I had many not necessarily sleepless nights, because this is actually pretty good reading to like calm you down. And I think I have a pretty good understanding of the city finances, and we're in okay shape. We're not. We'll see how it goes in another year, but yeah, I'm comfortable accepting this document as it is.
I'm so glad that this was comforting for you, Stephen. Takes all kinds.
I almost fell asleep while I was reading it.
Almost. Anybody have anything else? We better move along because Dean's looking a little.
Quickly, Steve, I'm sure you fired through some batteries on your calculator on that and had fun. And Karen, I believe actually after listening to you, you are right. It did get brought back before us because for somehow when Karen or when Laura and I were on the council and we did make it go away, it never got ratified or never got put in somehow. So we did bring it back up. So Robin, the information will be somewhere when Karen first came on is when when we discussed that.
All right, I'll look into it. I'm having a thought about the term, the amount of terms and the age was discussed when Jim was around. So that's what I kind of remember. But yeah, we'll look and see what we have on our files. There is no further comment on this item, just so the mayor knows that.
Thank you.
But I'll be happy to look into it.
Can I ask a question? Sorry, Madam Mayor.
Please.
No, my question is that do any of the comments that have just been made by council members have to do with anything other than the 1819 fiscal year statements that are at issue right now? I just want to make sure that we are not moving past concerns about certain aspects of that report or the audit. If they're not substantive, then that's fine. I just need to clarify.
I was reading straight out of the audit.
Yeah, Steven started this.
So I don't think there was many, so I don't think we were deviating from 18. And I will make a motion to accept the City of Bishop's audited financial statements of fiscal year 2018, 2019.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you. And we already know there wasn't shockingly any public comment. So may we have the vote now, please?
Councilmember Mahovey,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Costello,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, item E, thank you. League of California Cities Prescription Card Program. This is going to Mr. Phillips, I believe.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. City Attorney Pucci brought this to my attention that the League of California Cities and the National League of Cities co-sponsor what's called a prescription discount card program that helps residents within California cope with the high cost of prescription medications. This is a no-cost program to the city. But if we launch into it, individuals and families within the city who are without health insurance or a traditional pharmacy benefit plan or have prescriptions not covered by insurance can receive savings on their prescriptions. This program is administered by CVS Caremark and could save our residents that participate an average of 23% off the full retail cost of prescription medication. There's no enrollment form, no membership fee, and no restrictions or limits on how often they can use the card. The discount card is accepted at more than 65,000 pharmacies nationwide, including major pharmacy chains and most local independent pharmacies. I checked today with 3 pharmacies that I'm aware of here, and Dwayne's Pharmacy said they weren't aware of it, but they would certainly try it to see if it worked. Vaughn said yes, they would recognize it, and Rite Aid said they recognize CVS Caremark insurance, but not the discount card program. So the one that's for sure is Vaughn's and perhaps Dwayne's as well. Again, there's no cost to the city to offer the program to our residents. We would be provided with customized discount cards with the city name and logo on it, as well as sample press releases and a sample web page to promote the program. And we'd receive a monthly report from the National League of Cities on the savings to residents each month. I could talk more about it, but I think probably the best thing is to try to address questions.
Okay, anybody have any questions right now on this?
Well, I just wanted to say that I kind of think it's a no-brainer. Us looking out for our people, no pharmacies are going to lose any money because they will have just said, okay, we'll accept this card and we're willing to get the business to give the discount. The one thing it says on here is have to be a member of the National League of Cities. The role of the city is to promote the program through the local media and the city website, and to make the prescription discount cards available at locations throughout the city. And so, like Ron said, they'll print them up for us and they'll say City of Bishop on it. And then, we can just find local businesses, maybe the radio station, where people can go pick them up. And if the pharmacy gives them a discount, then, it's a win-win. And there's no cost to us except for maybe doing a little publicizing. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's great for for residents. There are some people who do have insurance and their provider prescribes them a medication, and if it's not covered by their insurance, they will prescribe them something less effective just because they try to look for something that's covered under their insurance. And so this way, maybe they could, at least with the discount, weigh out the benefit of receiving the better medication for to treat what it is that they need. And I just think it's a great benefit for everybody that might need it.
I agree that I think it's a great program to get enrolled in. My only concern is how we would get the word out, and it could be just as easy. Would it be as simple as just having a few of those cards at the pharmacies so that the person doesn't actually have to get it, and making the pharmacists aware that if they don't have insurance, that they can rely on this for a discount?
We could ask them.
Yeah.
We'll look into every possibility.
You could also, partner with NIH and make sure that they know that this program exists, and they can let their patients who don't have insurance know that it's available to them.
Yeah, and it is for some people that do have insurance, and it's not all that uncommon for their insurance to not cover.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Certain information. Yeah. Okay. Any other? Robin, did we receive any public comment on this item?
No public comments at all.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I think that Councilmember Ellis has a comment.
Oh, yes, Jim?
Yeah, Ron, this question's to you. I'm familiar with the NLC, but more familiar with the League of California Cities. Are we a member because Stephen brought up the point, there's no cost for us to participate in it. However, we must be a member of NLC. Are we a member of NLC?
Yes, we are.
Perfect.
National League of Cities, right?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the city's participation in the prescription discount card program.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you. And the vote, please.
Councilmember Mahovey,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Costello,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
All right. And thank you for bringing that forward, Dean. And now our last item is item F, League of California Cities resolutions. I think this is you again, Mr. Phillips. Yes?
The resolutions that we sent to you were sent to us by the league for consideration, and your action tonight would be to either instruct your voting members to vote in favor of these resolutions or to instruct them not to.
Hey, did everybody get a chance to read over the resolution? And it will be Mayor Pro Tem Costello that will probably be the one to weigh in for us to vote on this. Anybody want to give any direction, opinion?
It's on the outside, it looks great, to have a resolution that the social media platforms remove criminal activity. And one of the things that was cited that brought this about was kind of a riot at a mall that then the city of Cerritos, through social media, saw that they were planning to riot at the Cerritos Mall and sent law enforcement and squelched it. But there's a lot of information there, and it's, even if we vote yes, because yeah, it's a good thing to say we can't have social media platforms promoting crime. It just opens up a big can of worms, because there's going to be a lot of limiting free speech, and it's going to put a lot on the Facebook people to be watching and try and what are they going to shut down and what are they going to allow and all that. So I'm for it, but it'll be interesting to see. It'd be a big war to pass something like that.
Yeah, because to me, because it has to do with criminal activity, I'm for it. Anybody else?
Yes, Chris, I agree with you. I'm for the concept, but it still has to go through legislation, and that's where the battle will begin. But I think the league will be supporting it, and the cities will be supporting it, and I'm all for supporting it.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know, I'm pretty jaded by social media, and I feel like we're all turning into bots because of it. And I don't really have an opinion either way. I think social media has a see what they have a see, and either way, it's just what the league is going to recommend. So I'm fine with following what you guys are doing.
My main concern is with regards to like how is it defined what is a criminal thing? Like if now we get in a situation where a local agency declares something like a curfew, and people are organizing to use their constitutional right to assemble after curfew hours, then now all of a sudden that is making, like, if you're using a social media platform to organize an assembly, that's now illegal. And so I don't know, I just don't want to touch that with a 20-foot pole. It's kind of my take on it.
Okay, are we just looking to give direction, or do we actually need a vote on this?
So do you want me to vote yes for the league to pursue that, or no, that the league shouldn't pursue that? That's the question.
Yeah, from what I heard 3 yeses, 1 from Karen, kind of indifferent, and then a no from Stephen. But that's my take on it, from what I heard.
Yeah, I think there was 3.5 yeses.
Okay. Okay. Do you feel directed, Chris?
Yes, and I will vote. So I'll vote yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All righty. Does anybody have anything for future agenda items?
The only thing that I had listed under future agenda items was to bring back information on what was done with regards to the benefits for people who retire from the council. And I think notes have been made about that.
They certainly have.
Okay, good. Yeah, it'd be nice to get that. It seems like we've gone up and down with that 2 or 3 times. So get it nice and done. Anybody have anything else for future?
Yeah, I want to look into the bill from the state to ban tobacco, and see if it's comprehensive enough and fits what we want to do. As I get that information, I'll give it to the staff, and we can talk about possibly putting that on the agenda.
Okay. Is
I
that
don't have
enough?
anything.
Okay, nothing? Jim, nothing? I don't know if you said anything or not, Jim, but I didn't hear you.
Shook my head a whole bunch. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. All righty, then, council and committee reports. We'll go ahead and start. Stephen, you have anything?
Two things. One, the LTC was just canceled, so we won't be having an LTC meeting this month. We will have the Bishop Area Wastewater Association meeting next week, so I'll be sure to report that. But most importantly, I wanted to commend the Eastern Sierra Trash Eliminators, who have been doing an amazing job with helping to clean up our city and our surrounding areas. I really wish they weren't necessary. And I especially want to commend Council Member Ellis for playing an integral role in that, and everybody else who has been helping with that. Claudia is an amazing human being, and everybody else. Linda Emerson's been doing a bunch of stuff, and so I really wanted to commend them, and then try and find out if there were ways that we could help them out in the city as well.
Okay, thank you. Karen, do you have anything?
Yes. I attended an Eastern Sierra Recreation meeting today, actually, and they talked about the collaborative that they've put together with the projects that various stakeholders in the Eastern Sierra have proposed on recreation type projects. And they got quite a few, and he summarized them. About 25 of them were infrastructure projects, which were about building and or improving facilities and resources. And then another 25 were kind of education and outreach type projects. And he was talking about what the next steps are is they're going to have a meeting on Thursday, and they're going to rate them on desirability and feasibility, and then kind of move from there. So there's a community meeting coming up this week on Thursday. And we also then heard from the Forest Service, and we already discussed this, how the forest closure will likely stay in effect. So that was basically the meeting we had today. Other than that, our ESTA meeting was canceled on 9/11. I don't have anything else to report.
Okay, thank you. And Jim, do you have anything?
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet on the government level. Haven't done any meetings, but I want to say thank you, Stephen, for that. On Sunday, I organized and helped put together a cleanup. We did Highway 6 from Y Road all the way out to Dixon Lane and back. And we just went over 1,000 members, Stephen, in the Sierra Trash Eliminators tonight. So it's 1,000 people in the two counties it's growing like crazy. And on Sunday, we had 12 volunteers show up. We removed 9 tires, about 24 bags of trash. Nothing too crazy, more than I expected, other than truckers really like KFC for some reason, because that was everywhere. And but just a shout out to the group as a whole. They are doing an amazing job. The volunteers are like trash ninjas. They show up, they quickly attack it, and then just poof, disappear. So we're having a great time. And I'm in the process right now of soliciting more projects and more events to get the community rallied up to do more. And as far as your question about what can the city do, I spoke to Destin several times and Ron, and we will hopefully, as stuff shows up, we'll go from there. But they truly are a bunch of citizens who are doing a great job and care about our community and want to see it have a good view from the people coming in and the people who live here. So thank you.
Oh, one thing, Jim, I wanted to point, I forgot to mention at the end of our meeting was the Eastern Sierra Recreation Coordinator is going to plan a Eastern Sierra cleanup through the different federal agencies, the 23rd through the 26th. So I'm sure he'll start promoting that, but that's put that on your radar.
Yeah, I will pass that on, Karen, because I've kind of been a voice for them to help them navigate some of the interagency stuff and the coordination through DWP and through the different entities. So I'm trying to help them kind of navigate it's kind of a new territory for them.
Yeah, it's great. All the work that you're doing and that they're doing, it's wonderful. And yeah, in a perfect world, it'd be nice if they didn't have to, but sure thankful to have people that are willing to pitch in whatever way that they can. Chris, do you have anything?
Yeah, myself and Ron and Destin attended the OVGA meeting, and a lot of normal stuff there, but the consultant actually asked that we develop an ad hoc committee, and it turned into kind of a mess because some of us wanted just staff to be on that because they want to start establishing levels, which is the nitty gritty of the plan of acceptable levels, of the water tables and pumping and all that kind of stuff. And so I told Destin that we wanted him in there, but there were some people from the public who felt like we were abdicating our roles to let other people do it. And we tried to tell them they're just kind of giving us a grid or a baseline, and then the board will still make the decision on those final levels. But we found out that you can't do staff and board members, even if it's less than a quorum, because then it would have to be a Brown Act thing and a publicized meeting and that whole thing. So we still didn't come to a decision other than the Inyo County staff, I think, is going to work with Bishop and and Inyo County or Mono County staff to get started. But that's something that I'm still fine with. I told him that Destin's forgotten more about water than I ever knew. So we still like to have him represent. And then I don't know if Chief Gell is still on, but on 9/11, we have, I think, 3 or 4 years in a row done a 110 flight stair climb to recognize the more than 300 firefighters who died trying to save people in the collapse of the towers. And it was really poignant this year because at the Eastern time that the first attack happened, the second, and all through the morning, he sent us an update that at 8:36 the North Tower was hit, and it was very somber to kind of remember back at what happened to our nation. But most of the firefighters and a lot of our family members, we kind of limited to them because of COVID, went and climbed the 110 flights of stairs. It was really neat. That's it for me.
Yeah, that's great. And it was beautiful. Every year since September 11th, the memorial of the flag flying from the ladder truck, and just helping everybody remember. And I know now that I have grandkids in school, I was really happy to see on the day that I had my little 4th grader here, and they were studying all about it, and the kids were very, very interested in it. And yeah, the kind of things we never want to forget from our history. All right, thank you, everybody. And I haven't had any meetings. We've had some correspondence from our county council regarding the LAFCO issue that's ongoing, and probably we'll be having a meeting before too long. And there's one more day to give blood for those of you who are willing and able. Hopefully you're able, and it actually is, they're doing it to honor first responders this time. So you can go to the Elks Hall tomorrow from 8 a.m. until 2 o'clock if you're able to give blood, and hopefully you can. And with that, we will adjourn until our Monday, September 28th, 2020 meeting at 6 o'clock. And thank you, everybody, for all your participation. Night, night.
Good night, everyone.